This is more for those who built their own wealth instead of those who were born into it. I'm wondering, as your wealth grew or you became rich, what changes occurred that you did not expect? I'm getting a lot of questions about wealthy women. I just want to say, I am asking males because I'm a male myself, so I feel their experiences to be more relatable. This is the Ask Men forum, and you are very free to ask women the same question on the Ask Women forum. No sexist intentions, just find males more relatable in this context. Story 1. Things haven't changed much for me. Neither friends nor family ask me for money. I dress like a slob. I only work when I want to, but that has made me complacent. Women don't throw themselves at me, nor do I think they're after my money. I travel a lot. I almost never cook for myself. I default to ordering in or picking up fast food. I love fancy restaurants. I still struggle to spend money on some things, and yet on other things, I'll spend thousands of dollars without hesitation. The biggest change for me has been motivation. I used to love working, and now I'm struggling to be excited about anything. The biggest challenge is teaching my kids how to be self-sufficient. I had house cleaners and canceled the service. We do our own house chores. I do my own yard work. I still want them to have pride in ownership and recognize that there isn't a magical money tree. Story 2. I don't have a huge net worth, but I didn't grow up with much money and now make six figures. I haven't really experienced lifestyle creep. For me, the biggest difference is I don't have to think so much when I spend money on basic things. I used to get anxious over every little expenditure, so it's been nice. To answer some of the questions, I'm an options trader, so my base is low six figures, but it's a highly incentivized field. My end-of-year bonus can be anything from $50,000 to $500,000 or higher, depending on the year. I've done well. My hobbies are things that are mostly free or inexpensive, like hiking. Like most American options traders, I lived in Chicago, but now I live on the West Coast. Story 3. I went to prison in 1998. I served 3 years. When I got out, all of my friends abandoned me. I literally had nobody but my parents. My sisters didn't want me being a bad influence on their children. Initially, I stayed with my parents and I got a job working with heavy equipment. I saved up and bought a car I saw on the side of the road. I fixed it up and sold it. I profited $2,300. I thought to myself, that was fun. I'm going to do that again. So I did. That year, I flipped 7 more cars and made about $13,000 total. I used that money to petition the court to expunge my record on the basis that I was a combat veteran and a first-time offender. I then took out a small loan to use as capital to start my own small used car lot. I got a floor plan, which is a line of credit used to purchase cars. That was 8 years ago. I now have a net worth of around $4 million. I have branched out and have 3 dealerships and various real estate holdings. All of my old friends have reappeared after abandoning me, and I am friendly towards them, but that's about it. I surround myself with successful people who can help me in my journey. The one person who never left me was my wife, whom I met within days of being released. Everyone thought she had lost her mind by going out with an ex-convict. Her friends abandoned her for it. Her sister disowned her. She has never wavered, not one time. Together, we went from poor to wealthy, and she has believed in me 100%. We rarely socialize with friends because we would rather spend our time together. Story 4. Self-made millionaire and business owner. I didn't have any changes I didn't expect, but the opposite. I expected changes which didn't actually occur. There was no victory moment on becoming a millionaire or paying off my house. It was more like, well, that's nice, I guess. Probably because it happens organically rather than a sudden windfall, so you just get accustomed to your income growing over time. Story 5. You run out of things to buy, then get bummed out about it. Then, once you are feeling down about not having anything to buy, you realize that buying things was a false thrill. Buying things wasn't making you happy. It was distracting you. You only kept buying things because you wanted the novel feeling to last. It always fades to neutral. Then you are left with the stress of things you no longer care about. Once you reach that point, you realize that experiences are better than things. You go through a phase of buying experiences. Then you run out of them too and get bummed out about it. You then start down a path of doing things for others. Philanthropy never gets old, and once your family is taken care of, it is the most satisfying thing your wealth can give you. Story 6. Given enough time, every person you know will need money. From my experience, about 9 out of 10 of those people will ask you for a loan. Most of the requests come via social media, text, or email with a backstory attached. A small group of people don't ask but just tell you about their financial hardship during a back-and-forth conversation but never outright ask. They say things like an extra $10,000 would make all these issues go away. Another part one didn't expect was how many ask for others. Some portion of your daily life will be to sort through these requests, refer them to a third party for processing, or flatly decline them all. Story 7. I am a serial entrepreneur, have many investments, and have an income in the top 2%. I also currently live as though I am middle class, started off as a blue-collar worker, and grew up close to the poverty line. I am also a college dropout. Here are a few things I did not expect about being wealthy. 1. I paid very little in taxes when I first started working, since my income was so low. My tax burden is now more than many of my friends make in salary per year. I can sort of see why wealthy people are so preoccupied with tax law. For certain purchases, I no longer think about price, especially food. I grew up ordering food at a restaurant by looking first at price. Now I order whatever I want. Having money is great, but some things became significantly more complex. Juggling businesses, keeping track of investments, staying on top of things like estate planning, being diligent about privacy and security, and all of the people and businesses that want to sell you something. To add to the third point, I have more hobbies now too. Having money has allowed me to afford certain hobbies that were just too expensive when I was younger. This is great on one hand, but it is also sort of frustrating that I will never have the time or lifespan to master much of any of them. I did not expect the assumption that many people have about my intelligence. Others who know of my wealth tend to hang on my words and opinions as if they are more profound than theirs or others, even if the topic has nothing to do with areas I'm knowledgeable in. As I started making more money, I had prepared myself with the assumption that other wealthy people were standoffish, self-centered, and highly materialistic. I was surprised to find that many are highly emotionally intelligent, empathetic to others, especially the less fortunate, very approachable, and really fun to be around. Because of my upbringing, I had a lot of family and friends who continually questioned and criticized the effort I put into trying to grow my businesses. They were always very pessimistic that my time would turn into anything material. Had I not aligned with certain people and philosophies that changed my mentality, I would never have reached escape velocity. Reaching normalcy after leveling up comes very quickly. It is exciting to make more money, but the excitement wears off quickly, especially with material possessions. The things I thought would make me happier did not exactly. The things that do are more experiential, some of them easily attainable without wealth. I used to love fishing before I became wealthy and still do. I now wish I had more time for it. I discovered that it does not take extensive individual intelligence to become wealthy. While it helps to understand certain things, I have gotten farther with persistence, resourcefulness, improvisation, and covering my weaknesses by aligning with others who are more intelligent than me. Story 8. I inherited enough as a 21-year-old that I would never have to work, but I grew up middle class. I don't tell people, but I don't go to great lengths to hide it either, so my close friends know I have money, but not just how much. I continued the career path I was on and don't intend to give it up. I'd probably go stir crazy without it. I live well beyond the means of my peers, though. I didn't expect it to be so awkward with other people who don't have as much. I have friends who are working full-time for $60,000, which is less than I pay in tax each year. In a group setting, people will talk about a financial problem they have, their student debt, or similar and expect that I can relate. I don't want to make them embarrassed or unhappy, so I just continue the conversation without sharing my experience. Sometimes people talk about leasing a new car that I don't think they can afford or having just bought the latest iPhone, but I don't feel I can say anything, or it might sound condescending. I can see why the rich are friends with the rich. There's a freedom to talk about your problems without judgment. Being anonymous online lets me talk about it in a sort of get it off my chest manner. I once met someone from work's boyfriend who was bragging about his high-paying job. It happened not too long after I inherited the money, so I still hadn't told anyone and wasn't sure if I should. His attitude was so unattractive that it set me on the path of not telling people, even though I don't think I'd be as boastful as he was. Edit because I thought of something else. When I was younger, I thought if I was a rich old man, a trophy wife would be perfect. Now that I'm 30, I can't think of anything worse. I have encountered women who expected me to be a sugar daddy because I have the means to, and it turned me off immensely. It made me feel devalued as a person, as if I was an automated teller machine, but instead of putting her card in, she spends some time with me. Now, I always hide my wealth from dates until we are a few months in. Story 9. Net worth of approximately $15 million currently. Sold 2 startups and most of my money is now controlled by an advisor. The biggest surprise to me was how judgmental I would get in certain situations. It's easy to make fun of snobby people, but it's hard not to be standoffish when you see a person that's clearly broke trying to act like a hotshot in a social setting. Your true friends really emerge. I have 2 true friends that were my best friends long before my wealth and have never asked for a dime from me. I would buy them both cars if they asked, but they never would. Meanwhile, the friends that I only met a few years ago are expecting me to pay for their drinks and dinners, and then tell all of their friends how much of an ass I am after I tell them that it doesn't work like that. One other thing that surprised me: spending money on the little things never gets easier. When I was broke, I would cringe when I bought a $25 t-shirt. I still cringe buying a $25 t-shirt now. Story 10. Not wealthy yet, but one of my best high school friends has really made it. He once said that he did not expect that the best thing about doing well is having a cleaner who does his shirts and laundry for him. By that metric, I am wealthy too. Background: he is not a billionaire, but in the tens of millions, I would guess. Most people don't realize how wealthy he is, and frankly, I also don't know exactly, because he keeps a low profile and only occasionally spends a lot of money with the circle of friends that have a lot of money themselves and won't judge. For example, he rented a very nice yacht in the Caribbean once. Mostly, he spends the money he earns from his company on rental property, which is, in fact, diversifying his investment. All the stuff he has is nice but reasonable. I like that he hasn't changed. I also understand that people around him will judge him, so he is forced to find a circle of friends that won't judge. We rarely talk about money. He is being smart and kind about it. The only time I notice that we have fundamentally different problems is when he mentions things that are out of my depth, like the value of a good lawyer or things like that. While I am doing well enough to afford most things, he never puts me in a position where doing something with him would be a serious expense for me. When we go skiing with friends, we still rent at reasonable prices, like 1 or 2 categories up from when we were younger and neither of us was well off, but not a top-of-the-line chalet. Story 11. You basically lose all your friends. I hired them initially so they could earn some money with me. They saw how much I made and, yes, one decided he could do it as well and competed with me 3 houses over. Everything I did, he copied. Customers that came for me, he pretended to be me. I would get emails saying, "Hey, as we spoke about," while I had never seen them. Kind of put it behind me by now, but still a dishonest move. Story 12. Well, there was a very personal change I didn't expect. My parents broke off contact when my business was successful, and it became apparent that I wouldn't work for my father again or be in charge of the family business one day. But I don't think that is what the original poster has in mind with the topic. Other than that, I had to realize that there are people much richer than me. I do okay. I started 6 years ago, have my own company, and enough money to maintain a good lifestyle for the next 100 years, spending tens of thousands of euros each month on things. But I am nowhere near, let's buy a private jet, custom yacht, or an apartment building in Monaco wealthy. Probably never will be. It doesn't really bother me, but a lot of people don't realize how much it costs to buy and maintain these things. As a friend once put it, it's cheaper to own and run 100 Ferraris than a mega yacht. Money makes it much more difficult to find a partner. I look okay, I am fit, I am single, I am a great dancer, and I drive a Ferrari. I get along with women. But where do I meet the woman of my life? Not a Bond girl. but a real partner I can have a relationship with. A lot of my school friends got to know their partners through university or, even more commonly, work. Will I meet the woman of my dreams at my workplace? No, it's my company, so every woman working there is an employee and, therefore, off limits to begin with. In my leisure time? What leisure time? I don't have much leisure time and usually don't spend it where I meet a lot of single women. I sometimes help out in a friend's dance school when they don't have enough men attending the courses, but nothing serious came out of it. And last but not least, there's the problem that you could find someone you really like, and then it turns out she only pretended to like you and was after the money the whole time. It's unfortunate. See, it's overall kind of hard to find someone you can talk to at times. As I stated before, I don't have a permanent girlfriend, and I don't have family here. The only family members that still talk to me live about 1,000 kilometers away in France. My friends from school face other issues in their lives than I do. I still enjoy their company, but we aren't that close. I have several friends that are in a similar position as myself and probably could relate to my problems, but they live in France or Italy, and when we meet, we usually don't talk a lot about serious topics. To summarize, I am left with one friend I can talk to and my uncle, and both live more than 1,000 kilometers from here. Other than that, I only have my lawyer and my secretary. I trust them 100%, but they are still employees. D. You won't be as independent as you'd like. A lot of times when I talk to my friends from school, they make fun of how easy life could be with a few million in the bank. Virtually all their problems would be solved. What they don't realize is that you won't get that much money without some commitments, as long as you don't win it or get it as a present. For example, I feel like I cannot stop working since I have employees. I could sell my company, but I fear that their situation would worsen under new management. I don't think I could lean back and enjoy life knowing that the people who helped me be successful are now in trouble. I also would miss my business to some degree.